Hi, Dave Kites again from the Otto Wood Shop. This evening we're going to make a short video about sharpening lathe tools here in our Otto shop. Have never done one of these before. I've showed a lot of people about sharpening, but we're getting more and more turners, so we need more and more people aware of how to sharpen the tools properly. So I did put together a book of instructions with pictures, and we do gouges, scrapers, skews, parting tools, and then I've got some information about a couple of assisting pieces, I guess you would call them here, the angle guide and the Wolverine jig. I've got the literature about them in here, although most people don't need to know any details about that. If they just follow these instructions, they should get a decent result sharpening. So the instructions have lots of pictures and stuff like that. So be aware that that book is here. It's down here with the accessories, and you can take that out and refresh your memory. So I want to start with a gouge. We're going to sharpen a gouge. We use this guy, and we're going to use this 45-degree angle Raptor setter. You put that in here and tighten it like that. 2 points contacting here and this point in here, and it's ready to do the 45 degrees. We have decided that we're going to do all our shop gouges at 45 degrees. There are different people like different angles of anywhere from 40 to 50, but we're going to standardize on 45, so it's easier for everybody to take a gouge out of there and just touch it up. There won't be some that are 50 and some that are 40 and some that are 45, and then they got to figure out what it is, and by the time they do, they've already ground it to a different angle, and so we're going to try and avoid all that confusion by just standardizing on 45. Now, then those Raptor gauges are made to use with the one-way Wolverine grinding accessories, including this guy. This guy is supposed to be set at this, I think it's 23 degrees, probably trying to say 22 and a half, but anyway, it's 23 degrees. And if you use that Raptor here and then this set it to 23 degrees, it'll come out right when you do your gouge. We have two of these, so I'd prefer that if you're going to do something different, change this one. Leave this one set at the 23 degrees. I've got a yellow line on this one, okay? So don't change this one. If you want to change from something to something else, use the other one, okay? Thank you for that. So a gouge, let's see. Here's a gouge. This is a bowl gouge. Put them in the jig. This is a number 2, it's a 2-inch block. That Thompson makes these blocks. There's a 2-inch block and a 1 3/4 inch block. Now the 1 3/4 inch, I'm going to talk to my cohorts here at the shop. I think we should take this one off. This is for 6-inch diameter wheels, and we don't have any. Ours are all 8. 2 inches for 8-inch. So we should not be using the 1 3/4 inch according to the literature anyway. So you put it in there, you stick it in until it stops, gives you a 2-inch protrusion. Tighten up the knob there, leave this angle set where it is, and now you're ready. Plunk it in here, and it's going to come out 45, and it matches up just fine because it's been ground already to 45. So if you wanted to sharpen this, optionally, if you're just sharpening, if it's not all messed up by somebody that didn't know how to sharpen things and they messed up all the angles here and got multiple facets on here and you're starting a major regrind, then you would paint this thing black all over the area you're going to grind. I'll do it anyway. But if you're just re-sharpening it and it's already just one facet and it looks pretty smooth, you don't really need to paint it every time. Just put it in and you'll sharpen it 3 or 4 revolutions and it'll be sharp. But tonight I'll show you. You paint it black, just the bevel. Can you see that? Yeah. Just the bevel. Let it dry. Already got some people doing this, and some of the black is transferring to our wheel. I don't think it hurts it. Now we have this nice grinder. It's 1 horsepower. It comes up to speed fast. We got 2 CBN wheels on it, carbon boron nitride, and they don't get all, the wheels don't wear out. They don't get smaller as you use them. And they last a long time. They'll sharpen they'll sharpen all the things we've got, but not carbides. So you don't try to sharpen any carbide scrapers on these things. But all the tool steels and the cryogenics, all those special steels that they make tools out of now, I think mostly so they can just charge a little more money, but there's no substitute for a sharp tool. How long they last depends more on what you're cutting than on what it's made out of, I think. But that's just my opinion. So anyway, you put the tool in here this way, get it here, paint it, and now the motion is going to be, I like to hold it like this. Some people have different grips. Okay, I'll talk for a second about that. I like to start here and roll it all the way over to get the full. Okay, so we want to grind all the way over till we get all of the wing ground. Okay, and I like to do it in one smooth motion. And so I stand over here so I'm not in the way. If I stand up here and I try to do this, I'm going to have difficulties. So before you turn it on, practice your motion. Say, that's what I'm going to do. You don't have to stay right in the center of the wheel, but you don't want to come off the wheel. But that little bit of difference in angle between being over on the side of this part of the wheel versus this part of the wheel is not enough to worry about. So just stay on the wheel. Okay. I didn't let my stuff dry real good, so some of it's come off. Yeah. Have to wear these. Regular glasses are not enough. Face shield's okay too. Okay, one swipe. See, I've got almost all of it because it was previously ground correctly. That's what I say. You don't really need to paint it if you're just sharpening it. It's going to be close. And if I were doing real life, I would stop there and go back to my turning using this newly sharpened tool. So it's that simple. We're going to use the 45 degrees for spindle gouges, bowl gouges, roughing gouges, all our gouges. Now the roughing gouges, some of them are at 40 right now. I'm not going to insist that we make them all 45. Some people really like the roughing gouge at that 40 degrees instead of 45, so that's okay. So that's the way you do it. That's all there is to the gouges. I should have mentioned, for those that aren't aware, this wheel is coarse grit and this is a finer grit. This is for sharpening, this is for shaping. You find a tool in there that you really want to use and it's got a whole bunch of different facets on it. Grind it on here first. Get rid of the multiple facets. When you get down to one, then come over here and sharpen it. Okay, if you keep sharpening over here every time you do, you're going to use up your tool quicker and for no good reason. And this puts a little finer edge on it than that does anyways. So there you go. Now some people like to use a slipstone or a diamond stick or some kind of a sharpener to take the burr out of the gouge. It's in the flute. I don't bother with it. But this little guy is down here. If you are somebody that likes to do this, then it's down there and you can do that. That's all you do. Now, to find out if it's sharp, use your work on the lathe. Don't use your finger. It's sharp, believe me. So that's gouges. Okay, so we sharpened the gouge, and now we're going to do a scraper. Here's a scraper. As an aside, I particularly like these because they're inexpensive. I think they're still around 45 or 50 bucks for the tool, and the steel is very good. The handle is too short, but you can make your own handle. So if you're looking for a nice medium-sized scraper, and it's a little thicker than normal, so this is good. It's almost 3/8 of an inch thick. The ones that are 1/4 of an inch thick vibrate. So anyway, this is a nice piece of steel in a short handle, so you can buy this tool inexpensively and then make your own handle. Take this one off, put your own handle on. That's another project, but it's a good piece of steel. So the scraper has this angle, this bevel angle here, of course, and it's not critical. On the gouges, 5 degrees makes a big difference in the way it behaves. On a scraper, it doesn't. The scraper is just cutting on this edge right here, and I tell everybody that asks for advice, I give them the advice of using your scraper, you want to hold it horizontal and you want the cutting edge right at the middle of your work on the lathe, and it'll cut the best there. So if you hold it like that, as the bowl comes around this way, that's why there's a bevel here. Otherwise, the bottom edge, if it was straight down, the bottom edge would hit the bowl before the top edge did, and then it wouldn't cut. So you have to have a bevel. But how much you have doesn't really matter. So you get to take a scraper out of the drawer here, and you're going to sharpen it. If it's got multi-facets and it looks really crooked, or if it's lopsided, if it's not symmetrical and one side is way over the other. Now they make side scrapers, so I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about one that's supposed to be balanced here, and it's not, then you might want to use the coarse wheel to get it roughly in the right shape, and then come over here and sharpen it on here, okay? So what we use to sharpen the scraper is this thing here. It's the platform. They call it the platform in the literature. This goes in there. Now, before I put this on there, you can use the blackening technique or not. I usually don't. I can see where my test scrape is without the blackening, but it is easier to see with the blackening. So if you want it easier to see, you can do the blackening. Should be dry. You want this in there so there's maybe a good 1/4, maybe as much as 3/8 clearance here, but no more. And then you loosen that up, hold this on there nice and flat, and tip it and hold it on there flat until you get good contact by eye looking at it here from the side on the whole bevel. Okay, so between the wheel and the bevel, I think I got pretty close. And you tighten that up. Then hold this up against the wheel and turn this backwards a couple times. I was just grinding this not long ago, so I got a wonderful line on there, all the way top to bottom. So I had nearly perfect contact with the wheel. So I'm ready to sharpen this, okay? It's already sharp, but I'm going to sharpen it again. Okay, so there you go. So we did all of that. Now we're ready. Wear your safety goggles. These 3 fingers are going to hold this down on there flat. And I can actually, if I use my thumb to help a little bit, I could sharpen it with one hand. My point there is that this hand should not grab the handle. Unnecessary. If you grab the handle, you're going to end up either doing this or this. I'll guarantee you. So don't do that. Hold it down on here nice and flat and use this as the pivot. Put your thumb underneath there if you want to squeeze it down. That's good. This hand should just push it light pressure against the wheel and move it back and forth. Okay, you say, when's he going to move his finger? It must be getting hot. Well, no, it's not, because you don't press that hard. If you press hard enough that you get it hot and you can't hold your hand on it after 2 or 3 passes, you're putting too much pressure on it. Just lighter pressure. More light passes is a better job than 2 or 3 heavy passes. Whoops. So now we've done a pretty good job of sharpening this guy. You can see there. And he's not hot. Okay. Now, tool steel, of course, which is what all the tools are made out of today, except the ones that are made out of cryogenics or the carbides. But the rest of them are all tool steel now. It does not lose its temper when it gets hot. So you could actually blue this and it would still be sharp. The old carbon steel, not so. You blued the carbon steel, you had to grind all that away and start over, but because it would lose its temper. But tool steel doesn't do that. But there's no need to get it that hot. If you're getting it that hot, you're putting too much pressure on the wheel. You're stressing your wheel and you're using up your tool unnecessarily. So keep it cool, keep it light, and you get sharpening. The very wings here I didn't get on even on the cutting tip, so I might want to. When I also tell people when they ask me for advice, not to get the corner into the work when you're scraping. That usually is a problem. It usually catches. So I tell them stay away from the corner and only use the point when you have to. If you're going around a corner or something, then sometimes you go past the point and start scraping on the other side. But generally, you want to stay in between the point and the corner. So the fact that the corners aren't ground here on the cutting edge, personally, wouldn't matter to me because I don't cut over there anyway. Okay. But if you did, you just need to go further over here. And make real sure you get those corners. Well, I got that one. That one's still missing a little. So I could do more, but I'm not gonna. I wouldn't. I would say that's done. Okay, so now the scraper, if I go like this, in this direction, don't go in this direction, but you can put your finger on there lightly and go this direction and you'll feel a burr is raised up on the very cutting edge all the way across there. Okay, when this wheel is coming around, he pushes this metal and he pushes it up. He pushes it up and raises a burr here. You would think he was going to pull it all down because that's the way he's going, but he doesn't. He takes this away, but right here on the top edge, because it's coming the direction it's coming, it pushes it up and raises a burr. That's good. That does cutting. That is sharp. That will make a nice fine cut. If you take real light pressure with this scraper now with this nice burr on it, you can get a pretty good finish out of a scraper on your work. So that's a good thing to do. And you can feel that burr if you go this way. If you're turning and you're getting powder with a scraper and you're getting powder, your tool is dull. So take your tool then and you feel here. Now be careful if you do that on turning because it's dull, it probably got hot. Okay, so when you're checking it, be sure it's not too hot. And then you can feel, and you probably feel it be very smooth, just like over here. No burr at all. That confirms it's not sharp. Time to go to the wheel and sharpen it up. Okay, we've done a gouge, we did a scraper, now we're going to do a skew. Here is a small skew. Skews are used here in our shop mostly for scraping, not for spindle work like a skew is intended to be used, but it can sharpen it the same way. And I'll show you how that goes. This one is kind of fat for me. I like them thinner than this, and I like them with a much longer bevel on them than this one has. But everybody has their personal preferences about their skews. Some like the rounded cutting edge, some like the straight cutting edge. I'm a straight cutting edge, thin and long taper guy. But like I said, people are different about that. So this was for the scraper, remember? There's two ways to sharpen, two kind of setups for sharpening the skew. And this is one way's Wolverine way. I guess it's part of the Wolverine system. I don't know. You have this that's our air compressor. We have this attachment, goes on this bar, and it just drops on there and you tighten this up. So it has a socket here, here, and here. Call them sockets. And so what we do is we put this in here, and when we put it in there, you put it in so that the long point, see, when you look at the skew, this side's longer than this side, right? So the long point goes on the side of the wheel that is opposite the side you got the handle in. So here I've got the handle in the right side and the long point is on the left side. The short point's on the right side. That's the right way to do it. Don't do it this way, it's a different grind. Okay? Do them this way. Okay. Then what you do, because they're all different angles, we don't set an angle, we just try to match what's there. Now again, if it's all screwed up, multifaceted and everything, go over here, put this same guy in, go over here, and do back and forth until, the way I'm going to show you, until you get one facet, then come over here and sharpen it. Okay, so this is one facet. I've got the long point on the left, handle on the right. I'm looking here. I think I got it pretty close, so I tighten up the handle here. Again, we want to paint this side. Now, with this setup, I don't need to paint both sides because once I get this side set right, and I turn it over and go over here, which I know you already guessed that's what we were going to do to get the other side. This is symmetrical, so we got the right thing. If we get the right thing here, we got the right thing the other way. So there we are. And so it's painted. And what I got is partial, but it's going almost all the way from the heel to the cutting edge. The skew sharpening is a little more complicated because there's another dimension, and that is if I plunk this on here like this, if I rotate it this way, can you see what I'm doing there? If I tip it like this, that will change the grind, obviously, and what it does is it makes this angle steeper. Okay, not the bevel angle, this angle. Okay, it gets steeper and steeper if I rotate the heel into the wheel more, see? So that angle is going to get steeper and steeper. Some people like steeper angle than others, okay? If you want to keep it the same, then you need to hold that flat on there. And when you turn this on and you start grinding, you got to concentrate on keeping it in light pressure, but even. And don't rotate it this way, and don't rotate it this way. Now, you may not rotate it, but if you put more pressure on it this way, it's going to grind more on that side, and it's going to go crooked on you, okay? Or it's going to change the angle, okay? What you want to look for when you're grinding these guys is that you got one facet here, and that the sides are even. You don't have one side that's going like this and the other side that's going like that. They got to be even. So you can, when you're using the tool, you can go this way or you can go this way on your work, and it works the same way. That's why you want to be symmetric. So this would be the wrong way. I got the long point on the same side as the handle. Bad. Correct way. Long point left, handle right, and I've got my scrape. It's down there. So what would I do different? Well, only thing I can do with this in and out is change how much I'm contacting in this direction. I can't change how much I'm contacting in this direction with this. I can only change this contacting by doing this rotating. Okay, or changing the pressure, more on the short side, more on the long side. So knowing that, I've got almost all the way from toe to the cutting edge in contact here. I'm ready to start. I've done what I can with this adjustment. So now I'll put this on here. Now, like I said, the skew is a little more technique sensitive because we've got this additional degree of freedom here of being able to turn this thing this way and this way. So I move back and forth just a little bit, medium pressure, trying to not twist it, and I'm making progress, okay? So I've got it up to there. Now, I'm still pretty even, this versus this. This side's getting a little longer. Well, I just ground it. So I'm going to turn it over. Long point on the right now, handle on the left. Touch it all the way across and try not to put pressure on one side or the other. Pretty good. I'm all one facet except for this little bit over here up near the top. Okay. So now go back over here. And shorten this. It's getting shorter, but it's taking its time about it. The unsharpened part I'm talking about, the black mark, getting smaller, but not very quickly. Almost. Now, when you use a skew, as a skew is intended to be used, you only use the bottom half to third anyway, bottom being on the short side. So if I were using this as a skew, and like you're supposed to, you know, like this, that's sharpened good enough, because I'm not going to put this tip into the wood anyway. I better not, because that'll be a big catch. Okay? And I got it on both sides. I got one facet, and almost the whole thing is ground. So this would be usable as a regular skew. If I'm using my skew as a scraper and I want to use this point to get in a corner, I didn't sharpen the point yet. So that point's not sharp yet. So if I'm using it that way, then this is not good enough to go and use. All right? So it depends some. Let me do a little more. Well, you can tell also, this tool takes a little more care and a little longer to do. It's a little more complex than the other ones. The other ones are, the jigs pretty much make it automatic. It's easy. This is not quite so easy. Yeah, it's getting smaller and smaller, see? I gotta watch my symmetry. I'm still pretty good. Oh, that side's good now. Okay. So, in the interest of time, I will stop there, but you can see that you need to take your time with it. You know where you're headed. One facet, even all the way. Symmetric angles here, a decent slope on this, and you get all of that, you've got a good sharp skew. So we sharpened the skew almost completely with this setup. There is another way, I'll show you. I don't like it as well, but that's just me, and that is to use the platform. So, you can get this like that. And you can just hold this. Come on, Mr. Wolverine, get tight. Now I may not be right anymore. Yeah, I'm still pretty close. Like that, you just hold it on there and you can touch it back and forth. Now, if you're a person that likes a rounded edge on the cutting edge on your skew, this is an easier way to get it than using the Wolverine jig. Because with this one, if I hold it here and I just do a little of this and a little of that, keeping it flat on here, but just do this and this, I get the round. Okay. I personally don't like the round. Well, you could do, I didn't mention, but you know, you paint it black, do all the same checking before you start to grind it. For this setup, just like you did with any of the others. Now, you got to do this at an angle. Now, you can't just stick this up here like this. You got to match this angle. So this cutting edge has got to be horizontal, perpendicular to the wheel. And then you do that. And if you want it rounded, you start doing a little of this. Don't go too far, you can see the change in the grind because we're starting to take away metal here and not in the center due to the rotation. You can see the different facet from the previous grind. So it is a different shape. Not drastic, but it's different. So I'm getting this same kind of pattern on the other side here. So if I kept on, you can see it's already a little bit rounded. Well, I can see it, maybe you can't, but anyway, yeah, you can see it. It's a little bit rounded. Okay, so this is an alternate way to the Wolverine, I call it the double V attachment. It's got a V over here and a V over here, double V attachment. Okay, so there you go, another way to sharpen a skew. Okay, so we've sharpened 3 tools so far, the gouge, the scraper, and the skew, and now we're going to do a parting tool. That's going to be the last one that I'm going to show you. This is the parting tool. This is a diamond one, so-called, because it has a cross-section of a diamond, and that is, as some of you may not know, being new to the game maybe, when you use the parting tool, you push it straight into the wood, the work usually. And parting tool means you're trying to separate this piece of wood from that piece of wood. So you're going to cut a groove, a slot, all the way through it. So you put this on center, and you just push it in, and it cuts all the way to the center, and then it's parted. So when you're pushing it in there, if you just push straight in all the way, the wood is you're getting deeper into the wood, and so the sides of the slot are rubbing on the sides of the tool. Well, this diamond shape makes it so that it's only rubbing on this line here where the diamond point or edge is, okay? If it were straight, and they do make a lot of parting tools just straight, then the whole surface is right there and could be rubbing on the wood, and it'll get hot. Okay, so that's why they do the diamond cross section. This is what we need to sharpen, is this and this, to get a nice sharp edge right there. I like them to be straight across. Some people purposely grind a parting tool so that that edge right there is slanted like that. So it cuts on this side first and then follows up on the other side. I find that tends a tendency to walk, to move, because of that angle. So I don't do that. I make it straight across. Okay, to do that, we'll get rid of our platform, and we'll put up our V bar. We've got 2 here. One, we just leave the double V attachment for skews on it. The other one we use for other things. Again, this is simple. You just put this in here, eyeball it. The curvature is the curvature of your 8-inch wheel. If you want to see that you're being economical with your tool, you can blacken this. I can see that's going to hit the bottom. I need to be down a little more. Right about there. Well, that's goofy. Hit way over here on this edge. I must not have held it flat, or somebody else didn't when they ground it before. Now I'm going to try to get it straight, and yeah, it wants to do that. But I'm only grinding back here, way back on the heel. So I'm going to move that out just a little bit. Yeah, see now I'm up on the point, but I moved it such a small amount that I'm not far off, so I can start grinding there, knowing I'm going to be attacking the thing I care the most about first, and that's what we want to do. I don't want to grind a whole lot of heel away until I get up to the point. That just wastes your tool. So we wanted to do that. I wonder how the other side was. I blacked it. Let's just see. Well, not bad. Pretty symmetrical. We're up on the point there only. So we're ready to start. Light pressure, straight, and don't hold it like this or this, you know, straight up and down, and not way over here, and don't go back and forth on this one. When everything's straight. Turns out this seems to line up with this over on this side of the wheel, so I'll just do it over there. That's done. Now I look at my symmetry. Again, you don't want this side ground way down here and this side still up here. You want to keep it symmetrical. Done. That easy, okay? You see how short a time it takes to sharpen a tool. Reshaping a tool, different ball game. Use the coarse wheel if you got a lot of facets, or if somebody has really done a big nick in it or broken off a corner or something like that. Go on the coarse wheel, get it in shape, and then sharpen it over here. But that will do your parting tool very well. Again, don't check it for sharpness with your finger. Check it on your work. Okay.